Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's nice having you here again. Uh, this is the second episode of our media production, and I have with me here today special guest in the house. Basically, two youth resource um, personnel, and then two wonderful looking youth with me in the house. Anissa, it's a pleasure to have you in the house today. Online with us is this special consultant. We're privileged to have you at home. Adosua is the founder and principal consultant of Olori Incorporated, the management consulting company that provides leadership and management training, project management, and business writing services. She brings 12 years of professional experience spanning across organizational leadership, learning and development, and programs management within the education and non-profit sectors combined. Over the years, she has developed and led various settlement programs for newcomers to Canada, ensuring a smoother and more positive settlement experience. And in all honesty, that is what aligns with this program this morning. So we're happy to welcome you. Thank you, Adisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, also with me is this researcher. In fact, she's so important to us in the organization. As a matter of fact, she started this organization with us. She did all the research in the whole world for us to get started, for us to know where to start, who should be our target of audience, and what kind of services we should be offering that will be relevant. So I really want to appreciate you openly today, Tommy. Thank you so much for being here. So Tomi Oloke is the research and development manager for CIS. She has she has experience working in various senior policy and planning roles across the government of Alberta, government of Manitoba, and University of Manitoba. She has a PhD from the University of Manitoba with a research focus on social enterprise. Thank you for being here today, Tommy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah. So Hina's here with me at this wonderful volunteer youth with CIS with peculiar experiences and a lot to offer their generation. First to start with is Ayomide Ayola. Is a dedicated youth leader with 3 years of experience guiding and mentoring young people in the church in Canada, in a particular church in Canada anyway. Passionate about supporting youth and immigrant youth. Ayomide has been instrumental in fostering an inclusive and supportive community. Ayomide's commitment to empowering youth is reflected in their hands-on approach and dedication to creating positive change. Our efforts continue to inspire and uplift the lives of many in their community. Thank you, Ayomide, for being here this morning.
Thank you, Ma.
And here with me, the last but not the least, is Temitope Mercy Kayode. Thank you for being a volunteer to the organization and for always um, being responsive each time your attention is needed. So I have Temitope. Uh, she's in the second year in University of
Winnipeg.
Manitoba.
No, Winnipeg.
Hmm?
Winnipeg.
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 Winnipeg. Sorry, you didn't write it. She just said university.
Oh,
Sorry.
mistake.
She's an observant person and currently taking courses in psychology. And she's passionate about the mental health state of youth. And that's what kind of prompts her regularly to be part of the program with CIS. Thank you for being here. To go straight to today's program, we're continuing with delving into the youth world in Canada, particularly immigrant youth. We'll try to listen to their experiences, their challenges, the plight, how they navigate through different encounters, and what they have to offer to the youth out there in order not to be victims of circumstances. So CIS is particularly putting this together so that we can be a resource organization for immigrant youth, primarily in Canada and generally across the globe. So we are particular about the plight of our youths. We believe in them. They are the future holders. We cannot just be careless attending to them and responding to their needs. So CIS deems it fit to explore your world, having seen different things that, you know, different youths are battling with. And we feel we need to step in, something has to be done. So we need to hear directly from you the result of this, or the outcome of this media will also be integrated into the outcome of the survey that has been ongoing concerning what is happening in the world of the immigrant youth and immigrant family in Canada. So to start with, I want to direct my first question to Ayomide. Could you please tell us what challenges Black or African immigrant youth and families face in Canada?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'll say first is, how to navigate the country, or like the community, right? When you're new to a country, it's very difficult to know your whereabouts. So the first thing is how to navigate life, and the first set of people you meet in a new country can either make or break your journey. It can affect your journey. So I'll say navigating, and um it's you've not been here before. The people you are meeting, the community, and there is a little bit of racism, I would say, at times, and it can be very difficult to navigate that. I would say for students, youths, I would say at times the education system is different from where we're coming from. In Nigeria, you can maybe skip your assignment and not do it, and I will you know I will adjust during exam. For yeah, every grade counts, every class, your attendance, you know, you have to work for it to earn it. Everything you earn in this country, you work for it. There's nobody's giving you free grades because you are a good student. They're giving you because you work hard for it. And at times I would say getting a job can be pretty difficult, especially if you are a youth, you are a student, you are restricted, and now they're telling you, um, we can't employ you because you can only work for 20 hours, and you're thinking, how will I do this? And because so many people at times do not take time to research the organizations that are available to them. When I came, I didn't know anything about any organization that can help me settle. So now the only thing I knew was OFE for employment, and at some point they kind of stopped reaching out to me because they could not like get me a job at that particular point. So I think as immigrants, like when we get to a new country, we should try and research on organizations that can help us like to settle. We should try and build a community, look for people around us that have been here before, talk to them. It doesn't have to be Black people. Like, be open. We should be open-minded, and we should be open to learning, and reading more. Research about where you are, research about the people, research how you can be a better person in the country. Don't stay on hearsay. Someone experienced, because someone went through a hard time getting a job, doesn't mean you will come here and you will stay 12 months before getting a job. Some people came to Canada and immediately they got a job. Some people, you have to wait for 6 months. It depends on your research and how focused you are, I would say. Thank you.
That's quite informing. So it's all about being open,
Mhm.
being truthful to yourself, being available to
Resources.
resources, and
Yes.
also reaching out if you need help. Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And I want to believe you're actually speaking out of experience. We're still
Mhm.
coming back to you. So the next question to talk with, yeah. In what ways have racism, discrimination, and prejudice against foreigners influenced the experiences and opportunities of immigrant youth in Canada?
Hmm. Personally, I haven't experienced like, racism. Maybe it might be subtle. I may not have noticed, but I would say one way it has affected immigrant youth is that, the preconceived notion of blacks, we're put in a certain box. So when we're behaving outside that, they're like, oh, I didn't know that, you people are like this, or let's say Nigerians, for example, like we have this, label like Nigerians are like this, Nigerians are like that. So, sometimes it can limit the opportunities we have. And yeah, it can limit the opportunities we have. And sometimes it can be quite intimidating as well because there's a lot of pressure. You're trying to be different from, the maybe they know us to be bad people, right? You're trying to prove that you're actually good. You're trying to prove that, when you're placed somewhere, you be as effective. So it puts a lot of pressure on the immigrants moving here, black
Okay.
immigrants
So
especially.
that's how it affects. I'm coming back to you. To I want
Okay.
you to start thinking of, oh, so if you don't want it or such things or the notion to affect us, what do we do? How do we,
Mhm.
I want you to start thinking about that.
Mhm.
So my next question to our virtual guests, yeah, to Tommy first. Um, if you could share some wisdom with young immigrants who are finding it challenging to fit in Canada, what would you say?
Um, I guess I'll talk from my experience a little bit. In terms of fitting in, I guess it's holistic, right? It's not just economically and what I mean, sorry, it's not just social, but it's all around. Sorry, your video went up. Are you still there?
I'm there.
Okay. Just making sure because I'm seeing myself in two boxes now.
Oh, okay. I want to believe technically.
So the question is about fitting in, right? Um, So I think for me, the first thing was I've always kind of been an indoor person. And so when I came to Canada, I just continued that way. And that was not very helpful. And also where I was living at the time, there was like not a very good transit route and all of that. So I wasn't out a lot. And I would say that impacted me. It took a while to actually, start meeting people and developing closer relationships. So definitely, like everyone has said before me, you have to like be out there, like you have to go out, attend events, even events that you think might not be important. Like I feel like a lot of people, when you're coming from a third world country, you're more likely to be, I don't know how to say it because it's more of a personality thing too as well. Like so, like you underrate things. You think things aren't important. Like all that's important is I'm going to go to school, get good grades, pass, and then the world will open for me. Anything to do with like mingling, meeting people, developing connections. At least for me, I didn't think it was important. And I think a very good example that I have is I remember I think towards my maybe first, second year of PhD, I'd done masters, I was doing my PhD and I just realized, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do after this. Like my career prospects are not looking great. Like it's not like I'm studying like engineering or nursing and I know what I'm going to do next. And so I was in that spiral and I remember my friend had just come from Nigeria, what maybe the year before, so he came like 3 years after I did, and then he was like, oh, like he's looking for how to get a good job. I'm like, bro, there are no good jobs for people like us. Like it's like we didn't do a marketable course and things like that. So anyway, there was this mixer. I think it was the Masters of Public Administration. They were doing a mixer with like past graduates, and I was like, I'm not going to this. Like nothing is gonna come out of it. So he went, and somehow we came out of there with an internship in the provincial government, and in no time he got me one as well. And it's like, oh, like, so this is how things happen. Like, if he never got into if he never attended this program, he'd never have gotten this internship and never have gotten me one. And I don't know what I would be doing right now, because that was my entry into government, and that like formed the basis of my career. So I say all of that to say, um, be open, like take opportunities as they come. That is a very good way to integrate, to find community, attend both social, socials that look like just socials, because in social those so-called social settings, you make professional connections, but it's not also always about just professional connections. You also just you meet people who form your tribe. Like I remember, like I was invited to a fellowship a couple of months after I came. And looking back now, all the people, like, what, it's been 10 years now. Like all the people that we were in that fellowship together, they're like my tribe. Everyone's getting married now. There's always a trip to someone's wedding. I'm like, oh wow, like these people are basically like family to me now. And coming in back then, it was like, "Ugh, do I even want to go here? I'm just going here to satisfy." So I say all of that to say, don't take anything for granted. Take all the opportunities that are open to you to mix both, if it's just social settings, if it's spiritual settings, if it's, an academic thing, just put yourself out there. Because one thing I've realized here is that being an introvert does not serve you. I'm an introvert, but I'm like, this doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. So you have to like even force yourself. Basically, I mean, you don't change your personality, but basically just force yourself to go out there and do things. And okay, I'm gonna stop now.
Wow. Good to hear from you. I know, without you saying it, extreme introverts. That's Tommy. So, I think I like what you said. Realizing who you are and knowing what you need to make a change of. I think that is being very, very realistic with yourself. Some people we know ourselves and we still believe we are just who we are, and it's like nothing can change us. So if you transit to a country like Canada and you believe you just want to be yourself and nothing can change you, I don't know. Probably we'll listen to you in the next question to let us know what is likely to happen. Thank you, Tommy. That's very, very, you know, um, expressive and informative as well for us to learn from. So, my next question to Adesua, um, what changes would you like to see in the services that help Black or African immigrants settle in Canada? Please, in attending to this, think about things like education, mental health support, cultural integration, or yeah, mentorship and community involvement. Then, what other questions should be asked to create a helpful guide for Black immigrant youth in Canada? It's like three questions in one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think when it comes to changes, I would love to see, there's so many things across various sectors, so we could be speaking on and on about that. But the biggest thing I would say is representation. We talk about how there's issues in the system, whether that's not having the cultural context of where you're coming from, or being able to see a person that looks like you, that perhaps has a lived experience like you, in positions of places that can help you, right? So the biggest thing is us empowering ourselves to go into those sectors and be the stewards, the ambassadors for those that are coming behind us. So if you want to fix education, get into education. You want to fix healthcare, get in there, right? So if you want to fix the policies, get into policy development or policy work, right? Do your research in empowering, equipping yourself with the knowledge and tools to be successful and be a voice in that sector and put yourself in that place. So for me, that would be the biggest change I want to see. In terms of the second aspect of the question, I think in terms of what questions we should be asking, or for a helpful guide, I don't know if I'll call it questions, but I would say it's for people to arm themselves with the information that they need. Right? We may not always have, especially as newcomers, you might not always know the right questions to ask, but in surrounding yourself with the people that can help you. So to anchor on Ms. Tomi's point here is put yourself out there, go to, even if you are the extreme introvert, which I can relate to as well. Like it brings me so much joy to be in my house. I do not want to be out for anything unless I absolutely have to. Right. But really putting yourself out there, surrounding yourself with people, not even exclusive to the African immigrants, Black community, but really interacting with people outside of your race, your cultural norms, and that sense of belonging that you might have with that familiarity of people that come from the same lived experiences as you. So surrounding yourself with people like that would also be a helpful guide. They are the people that they might not have an understanding of your lived experience, but depending on your need, they can point you in the direction of the place where you can get that support. Right? They don't have to be Black to be able to give you information on what's out there and the access and opportunities that are out there. So I would say that's the biggest thing is, however, whatever pathway people are using to come into Canada, whether that's through school, working, visiting, however that looks like. But if you have connections here, really leverage those connections in yourself with the asking them, like, what do I need to know? You always know the right questions to ask, but really just being open and receptive to the information that they give you, which might seem very foreign because you're coming from a different country, a different context, that this might feel unusual. Like, why do I have to do X, Y, and Z to get X, Y, and Z? But just do it anyways, right? And that openness to explore and also challenge your own thinking and orientation on some of the things that you on how you conduct yourself and how you engage with the world. I hope I answered all of the questions in this.
Yeah.
But I would say mentorship program I find to be quite empowering. Whether that's in a school setting, just being matched or connected to someone who has the lived experience of something you're about to embark on makes a world of difference. And matter of fact, I think it's a shortcut to navigating resources, right? So if you're in school, connect with your admin people. I feel like maybe let me speak from the Nigerian context. We have a different orientation of how we engage with education, or whether that's faculty folks or the administrative team, that people tend to just do a lot of things on their own and not really engage. But I think just even working in the education sector, it makes a world of difference, whether that's in engaging with your instructors or talking to the staff, because when there is a casual opportunity or a part-time opportunity, you are going to be top of mind for them when they're looking to fill certain roles. When you have a challenge, whether with putting in an assignment at a due time, if an instructor knows you, they see you, you show up to class constantly, you're highly engaged and you interact during the classes. And if there's that one time you're unable to meet a deadline, they're able to make an exception for you because they see that there's a track record of someone who is committed and invested in what they're doing. So really engaging and interacting with the community around you would make a world of difference in just helping you find a new sense of belonging here, but also in elevating and growing yourself in this new space.
Wow. Revealing as well. Like, just to support what you just said, and for immigrant students outside there, international students, immigrants going to school, I think she made a very strong point. If you always attend your lecture, you make contributions, you are part of the interactive session in your schedule with your lecturer. If you have to take permission or be absent for anything, I think they will make that
Yeah.
happen for you. Because I'm also in the university now. I'm studying. And I'm like, this is entirely different. Man, it is entirely different. But being myself in any class, I will always contribute. I ask questions, and for 13 weeks, of the lecture, I attended 12. And at the 12th lecture, I thought the lecture was ended with the way the lecturer ended it. And I was like, oh, we were done. Only for me to realize that there was 13th lecture. Hey, wow, the last class, I thought the class we had was the last because of how interesting, interactive, you know, explorative it was. Not knowing that there was this last lecture. And when I learned, like, missing lecture, what would that? So I just sent the lecturer a note and I explained myself. I was on the road, I was traveling. I thought we had ended. And you know how she replied me, said, Felicia, I missed your smile, your question, and everything. I actually missed you. I wouldn't know you. And that was all right. Just go through the lecture and that will be fine. You know, just go through the papers and that will be fine. And then remember to submit your last assignment. And just like that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so even your smile, somebody is noticing. And that shows how meticulous the lecturers could be and how they can show interest in your. I was the only black in the class, or the only black, and I would be like, I was just myself, not knowing that I was making an impression. So that's one thing to hold. Don't be too mute, even when you think you are not the talking type. Just try and say something that is relevant occasionally and can be of benefit to your listeners. Okay, my next question to you. I'll put two questions together, Ayomide. Um, please describe any challenges faced in accessing education, employment, or healthcare services as an immigrant youth in Canada. Combined with, have you had any positive experiences with community organizations that helped you
Mm.
along your journey as an immigrant youth?
Okay. Um, I mean, like you said, with education, when I came, I'm this kind of person that, when I'm in class, I honestly just want to listen and get my note and like I'm done. But it affected me. I the lecturer had to like email me that, oh, you might be an introvert, or at times you need to talk. I want to hear your voice. You're doing well in your studies, writing, but I want to hear you in class. So I think that's one thing about education here is, in Nigeria, if you're in class, if you don't talk, fine. If you do, fine. You know. So yeah, with education, I feel you have to you have to unlearn some things that you've learned from like home and learn the way things work. Yeah, in Nigeria, you might not, have to talk. Yeah, you have to talk. They want to hear your voice. They want to hear what you have to say because you're not the only person. There are other people. So for the lecturer to know that, okay, this person knows what they are doing, you have to like voice out. For healthcare, not really. My experience with healthcare here is not that good because there was the time I was sick and I was at the emergency for like 12 hours. Then I left without anybody attending to me. I went back home. So not like I don't have any good experience with that. However, um, for working clinics, yeah, they are still like a little bit wait time, but it's not bad. My positive experience with organizations, yes, I have. When I came, my church, honestly, they really really helped me. My church helped me. Then I joined this online group for students. So I joined the group when I was still back home before getting to Canada. So that was when they were telling us about housing, how to get a job. So I started looking for a job as a student even when I was home. But it was kind of difficult. So when I got here, I stayed a while before getting a job. I eventually like got a job. So with getting a job with employment, you have to keep searching. You have to, even if to apply for like 50 jobs a day, update your resume. If you have someone to review for you, someone in Canada, because the way we write resume back home is kind of different from the way we write it here. So if you have someone that can review for you, help you, like through guidelines for interviews, um, search online for organizations. Me was church that helped me. They helped me settle. They basically asked for what I needed. I remember during the winter I was wearing sneakers and I fell and I could not work. So the church had to send someone to my house like every 2 days to check on me, massage my leg, cook for me. They sent me money just to make sure I'm good. So like the community, just try and build that community. You have to be vocal, you have to talk, to people. I have a very good friend now that we met on the road. I was just walking that day inside the way and I saw Nigerian is way older than me. Good afternoon, sir. And now, like, we are good friends. Like, don't be shy to talk to people. You don't know if it's that person that's like gonna help you. You just want to be open and just research online for different. Now we even have sis to help you. I remember my first program with sis. I just one day and I'm not going again. But after the first day, I like have to go back second day. And now like we are here and it's good to see that you know everybody is kind of passionate to like help young people that are coming in. It's difficult. It's a country you don't know anybody. So I feel yeah, you should research, try and join a group. You can form your own community by talking to people, be vocal. With education, you have to unlearn to learn new things to adapt to how it works here.
Mm. Our resource person in the making. Ayomide. Thank you so much.
Thank
That's quite
you.
helpful. Yeah. So back to Tokpe, two questions too. The first will be from your first answer.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't experience it like racism as such, and you were able to at least tell us how that could affect, immigrants settling properly. What will you advise your immigrant mates or friends to be conscious of, take note of, or guide against, and just ensuring that all of these concepts don't affect them and
Mm.
affect their dream and their stability? And the next to it is that did you find a community of peers or similar background when you came? How did that influence your experience as an immigrant? The questions one.
Okay, so the first one is how we can guide against racism. Um, huh. Okay, so this country, Canada, is a place that, it's not a racist country. It's the people in Canada that, their the ideas or what has been imbibed in them, that's what made them racist. But I would say that as immigrant youths, because there are not much opportunities for blacks, or maybe we're sidelined, does not mean that you shouldn't chase your dream. As she said, like, hard work pays. So if you show your hard work, you will surely get the results. So if they see that this person is hardworking, they know what they're doing, they can't say, "Oh, I'll sideline this person." I mean, that would be wrong. Then, if you do what you're meant to do, as a student, right? You're doing what you're meant to do as an international student. You're keeping to regulations. You're doing all the right things. Working 24 hours. You're doing everything. I don't think that there should be something that will stop you from, getting what you want to get. I mean, the end goal is to get permanent residents here for those that want to stay here. And if you keep to the regulations, if you do what you need to do, you can get there. You can get whatever you want. And for the second question, um, I'm part of the introverts type of people. So when I initially came to Canada, it was hard because, um, as she said, we have to unlearn some things to, learn new things, right? I had people tell me, "Oh, you have to, don't be quiet. You have to talk and all of that." And I'm like, it felt like some form of pressure because it feels like I have to be a whole different person, right? I won't say that it was immediate for me. It was something I learned along the way. I remember I came during the winter, so I remember going to school and then seeing a lot of people with friends and all of that. And it even became a prayer point for me that, oh God, please, I want friends. I was like, God, please, I want friends. But God provided friends through church. Actually, I met my friends from church, and then recently this year, I actually have a group of people in school that I can call friends. And one thing I would say is that initially when I came, in the class, you'll notice that you're the only black person, so you're trying to look for the another black person. But as she said, we have to be open-minded. So if a white person is beside you, make friends with them. You don't know who can open doors for you.
Great. Great. But I just want to drop this.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to
Yeah.
it. Like, it's good to make friends, like you have said, and we can see the positive results as I've analyzed. But also, there is this other side of story that even in making friends, you could get to the wrong route, and that could like destabilize your dream and everything. So, in choosing your friends and going around friends or making friendship, how do we take caution? I'll come back to that. Then you also said something that was very shocking. I forgot. I want to say it as like emphasizing it. You will be the second person that will narrate their experience with the health sector. I remember a particular student told me that he went on emergency and he stayed, not like emergency of like he wasn't feeling so good.
Yeah.
So he needed to see a doctor and he had to wait lengthy hours, like 8 hours, even without seeing the doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody would have died. I mean, I think life is precious to us in Canada. And I feel if we're having issues in that particular sector with our immigrants or international students, probably there should be a floodlight on that. So I just said, let me mention.
So sorry. You mentioned something about friends and how to identify like good friends and bad friends. Honestly, I feel like you can make people your friend. Know who you are and where you place them. There are some friends that it's just cool, right? I have friends from uni that if I want to gist today, like I'm free, I'm not doing anything. We just call each other to just gist. If I want to be serious, I find so just kind of know yourself and know the
So which means
different.
setting boundaries,
Yeah.
knowing who you will relate with. And thank you for that. So my next question is to Toby online. Yeah. How do you view international students? Two questions in one, too, because I'm like, I don't want us to stay beyond so much beyond time. How do you view international students? Should we say they are immigrants or potential immigrants or temporary visitors? And what kinds of support do they need if they wish to remain in Canada after their studies? I think you are in the best position to give that counsel. And then the next question, which is your last question, apart from the final advice you give us, is what are the essential support systems and resources that immigrant youth require to effectively navigate culture shock and maintain their focus while adapting to life in a new country? Thank you.
Okay. So the question about how I view them, I mean, the law views them as immigrants. Like, whether you come here as a student or a worker, you are an immigrant. And so, but I guess the intention of that question is to, get to the root of like what they, want to accomplish. Like I was watching the last interview that you did, and like the person who answered this question said, it depends. Like most people come here wanting to stay back, and some don't. I remember I was one of those who didn't think I was gonna stay back here. After my master's, I thought I was gonna go back, but as things change in the back home, and I was like, yeah, there's not much to go back to. But yeah, so immigrant, I think probably the first thing, and depending on where you come from, there's a common, especially back then. I don't know if it's still the same way now. A lot of people like had their entire immigration done for them by a friend. Like for me, it was like a family member. I didn't even do my application. I didn't even know it. I wasn't trying to come to Canada. I was supposed to go to the UK for my masters after my undergrad, but somehow someone just did my application and everything for me. I was like, oh, come to Canada. It's whatever. So I came here. And so I think even now a lot of people have their like immigration application done for them by like paid agents or family or friend. It's rare for you to find people who did it themselves. And so that means that lots of students who come here, they are unaware of the process, the entire process. They don't have experience
Mm.
doing applications. They don't have experience, knowing what it takes to do your immigration. But like in my time, which I'm sure still continues, as a student, once you get here, you know that you're responsible for renewing your study permit. And from then you begin to, read up. So if if the plan is to stay here, you begin to read up on, what are the new what is required to get permanent residence. I know that that is it's a minefield right now. It's like things are changing every day. And so like I remember I was always shocked when I had like people ask me questions about, oh, what do you like people who are here who came to Canada a couple of years ago, and I'm like, oh, what do you need to do to apply for PR? I'm like, what do you mean what do you need to do to apply for PR? Like, this is public information. It's on the government website. Like, this is something you should be following up on if this is your goal at some point. And so definitely to be aware from the right sources. Like, if your plan is to stay back here, like definitely be up to date on IRCC's website, Immigration and Refugee Canada. I don't know what that means, but IRCC, definitely check on their website often, check frequently to see what the current, goal is. I remember back then I was literally always, plotting and seeing, oh, always counting my work hours, like to see like when is it gonna be enough? When is it gonna be enough to apply for PR? So those are things that you should be doing to familiarizing yourself, with what you need. And so that's like the admin side of things. But also like, because a lot of people, the goal is to become a PR, to become a citizen. Like, but those things don't, like, once you get them, they don't do anything for you. Like, nobody awards you a certificate. Well, you do get a certificate, but nobody gives you money or gives you a job because you're now a PR or you're now a citizen. It's not like those are not the end goal in and of themselves. I would say they're just like tools for you to. So, like, the goal should not just be to get your papers and then, oh, I've accomplished everything, I'm done. I think we should have higher goals as immigrants. Like, you should have a goal to, like, in your career, go up, like, you know, get a good job, rise up the ladder. Don't just be comfortable in, a certain position, and then, you go up the ladder, you do what is needed. And I would say, even though I wasn't asked that question, that's something I think about a lot, in terms of, so like everybody, Canada is not an outwardly racist country. Like, nobody's gonna come to you and say, "Oh, you're back," and say things to you. But what I found in my experience, where the discrimination comes in, is rising. So I always say there's a particular, I'm not gonna like mention any specifics, but there's a particular very big organization that I've worked in, and I got there and I noticed, so two experiences. The first one, I noticed I was literally the only black person in a building. Like, this is the main admin building. Like, this is where all the top people are. And it was every meeting I noticed I was the only black person. And then I took a step back. I was like, I'm literally the only black person in this building. That's the first one. The second one, I got there were lots of black people there. And I realized there are black people there, but they're not at the top. It's like you're capped. And I'm not someone who thinks about racism because I'm like, oh, once you're good at your job, you're going to rise. But, I had an experience in my career and I saw like, it's actually not true. Like, even if you're very good at your job, sometimes, other people can, be prioritized and, so basically you have to fight, sometimes you have to fight to rise. And so I say all of that to say, like, immigrant youth who are, trying to stay here and make a life for themselves, the first thing, of course, immigration admin, get that settled so you're fine. But also work towards other thing, career. Like we've talked about a lot of resources, like, things to do to, get into a job and to, move higher. And I think beyond the job too, socially you need things that bring you fulfillment. Like I found more and more now that it's not just about work, it's not just about making money, but like you want like something that makes you feel like you're making a difference in the world. And so these are some of the many things to think about, if you're trying to stay in Canada after your studies. And organizations like CES, and I don't work in the nonprofit sector in that way, so I might not be able to name specific organizations that help. And but I'm sure like there are a lot. It's just all about doing research and talking to people. And did you want me to answer the second question as well? The
Yeah,
essential
yeah,
supports and
yeah.
resources? Honestly, I don't know. I think maybe Adesua might be better placed to answer that question because
Okay,
I
okay,
I
that's
don't
fine.
work. I
That
can't name any
that's right. Just
organizations.
that I have the last question for this. I will just combine the two for her. I know she will do
Yeah, except
justice.
if you have another question that you give me that I
Yeah,
can
I
respond
mean,
to.
it's all right.
But
It's
the
just
one
the
about support, I can't
wrap up
respond to
question.
that.
Thank you. I like that honest, honest way of approaching things. Thank you so much. I know at this point, I have to apologize because we may need like few minutes of our time more, having started so late. Please bear with me. And I remember Adisa saying she has another meeting. I don't know. So let me just put across your last question, Adisa. I think the one Tommy would like me to ask you, which is how you will advise the youth, to navigate effectively culture shock and maintain their focus while adapting to life in a new country that they find themselves. So the next
Sorry,
question to you,
excuse me, sorry to cutting. I thought it was about support, not about culture shock. Like, is it a two-part question or?
no, it's a culture shock. I said, what are the
Okay.
essential support system and resources that immigrant youth require to effectively navigate culture shock?
Oh, okay. Sorry
Please.
about that. I think I can answer that. Then I thought you
Mm,
were referring to specific
mm, mm,
support, like organizations or things like that. In terms of culture shock, I think it goes back to, I guess, my sort of the first question I was asked as well. It's about, going out there and building the community, like everyone has said. I think I found that religious communities actually serve people a lot more than they think. And so if you're religious, like if you're Christian, joining a fellowship with other students, it goes a long way because you get to talk to people about everything from academic issues to emotional, spiritual, even in terms of getting information, that plays a huge role. So integrating yourself in that kind of a community. And as well, talk if you're a student, talking to like your fellow students as well, making friends in class, like everyone has said, not just talking to, people from your race or people from your country, but actually talking to all of your classmates, developing relationships, being open basically to getting to know people because you don't know like where you're going to meet people. Like you don't know where you're going to meet the people who are going to be an integral part of your life. Like so just being open, even in the workplace, like um my husband is a great example of that. A lot of the forever friends that he has are people out that he met at the workplace, people from different cultures, like a very diverse group of people. I haven't been able to have diverse friends, but the way he does it, like he has people from every culture, and it's just, a great sight to behold. So that's definitely just being open. Shock is culture shock. You don't even know you're going through it when you're in it. It's when you're looking back on it and you're like, oh, that was different, that was different, that was different. But as long as, you're open to connections and open to learning as you go along, I think you will be fine, just as we all,
Thank you.
were after.
Thank you so much. That's great. I would just want to go straight to Adesua too. In case you have like a contribution to that, that would be welcome. But let me put across your question. What are the implications of new immigration policies on international students? How might these changes affect their ability to study, to work, and integrate into the host country? Like, like It has sub. So let me just finish it. Are there specific challenges they are likely to face with these new changes? And what opportunities might arise from the regulations as well? How do these policies influence the overall experience of international students and their contributions to the academic community? I just want us to hear it from the resource person's perspective. And then I know they are directly in the shoe. They will be able to also say one or two things. Then we have one more questions and we are done. Thank you, Addison.
For sure. So in regards to culture shock, nothing new beyond just find community fast. I think that is your fast track to strengthening your sense of belonging in this place, because especially for youth, there might be identity crisis. You are being introduced into an environment that's very different from where you're coming from. And so even in terms of navigating things like how to take the bus and what are sort of the unwritten norms of how to engage within the society, or adjust to a new education system. In the world of work, right, there is also the unwritten norms of how people engage in the workplace that might be different from where you're coming from. So culture shock is broad, and in different facets, you're going to see variations in what you know and what you're getting introduced to. So I think it's finding community, whether that's with the people that look like you, speak the same language as you, go to the same school as you, from the same ethnocultural background as you, whatever that is, find community. It's good to find your own people too, because there is a stronger sense of belonging that you might find when you are around people that understand your lived experience. They can validate some of the challenges that you are experiencing and helping you normalize that, okay, it's okay. You're not weird or stupid for feeling this way in this new environment that you're in. It also would help you reduce the feelings of anxiety that you might have around navigating certain things, because they're able to say, okay, yes, this is a challenge you might experience, but this is how you can overcome it, right? So find community fast. So if that's faith-based, if it's from your religion, whether that's a mosque or a church, it could be within the community, it could be within the educational institutions. I know like University of Manitoba, University of Winnipeg have like a Muslim student association. There is other like Christian-based associations or Adventist, or there's different ones. There is Nigerian Student Association. So find your community, find it fast, because that is the people that can really empower you to normalize your experience, but also help point you in the right direction. But your community doesn't have to be exclusive to the people that you know. So find interest groups. If you're interested in art, then maybe explore community organizations that offer some type of art programming to the community. So that way you're nurturing an interest that you have, but you're also building community and expanding your network within this new environment that you're in. I always tell people volunteering was how I got my first major job in this country. And even when I got into the interview room and I realized the people who were interviewing me were someone who I'd met in the community. I didn't even realize he was working for, no, I knew he was working for that organization. I didn't realize at the time that he was the head of that program. And so when I got into the room, I'm like, oh, Matt, what are you doing here? It's like, well, I'm part of your interview panel. I'm like, nice, and the other person who was interviewing me was in the same master's program as I did, but in a different cohort. So it didn't even feel like an interview anymore. It was more of a conversation. And then afterwards, I got the call like, oh, we're offering you this job. And I'm like, why? And the person literally told me, it's like, you weren't the most qualified for this role. However, I'm going to bet on your commitment. I've seen how invested you are. I see you out there. I see you volunteering, and that's what I'm betting on, because I know that this is something that you do even when you're not getting paid to do it. Like, it's something that you do. So I'd say really put yourself out there. Matter of fact, the people who've really helped me propel, some of the mentors that I have in my work, they're not Black. Right. So not to say that the Black people haven't helped me, but I'm just saying that help could come in different forms. So just being open to it would make a world of difference in helping you grow in this new environment and help reduce those feelings of culture shock, because it's normal. Anyone that goes to a different country, even if we're a Canadian traveling to maybe an African country, they are going to see things as like, oh my God, like this is so different here, right? So it's very normal. It's just how we respond to it that's going to determine if we're increasing our levels of exclusion and isolation, or if we're going to put ourselves out there and really open ourselves up to this new environment that we're in and not see it constantly as a challenge, but an opportunity to grow. So that would be my response on that. In terms of implications of new immigration policies, this has been a maze this year, especially, right? There's just different things that are coming up, and everyone is adjusting, both governments at various levels, both institutions, educational institutions across the country, international students, and so everyone is having to adapt. So we're not excluded. International students are not excluded from this. It's arming yourself with the information that you need, right? So monitoring the news and understanding the parameters of the status that you have. If you're an international student, what are the limitations to your study permit? Just making sure that you understand that, but you also know the opportunities and rights that are available to you. So monitoring that for sure. In terms of how might these challenges affect your ability to study and
I
work?
think that's just
I think depending on the pathway that you're coming in, because I know, for example, people that came maybe through for a certificate program that are not necessarily a master's program, there are limitations with like postgraduate work permit, right? So just understanding the path that you're on, the program of study that you're in, and what the eligibility requirements are for like immigration and being able to like transit, right? I know there's people who maybe come through one institution and then want to move to a different institution. Now, I think the latest regulation from November was that if you have to change institutions, that means you have to reapply for a new study permit, even if you have a valid existence study permit. Because you're changing institution, you have to reapply for a new study permit, because there is a designated learning institution number that's associated with each student's study permit based on the institution that you are enrolled in. So just arming yourself with the information as they arise, ask questions. Most international most educational institutions have an immigration international students unit. Go there, ask questions. What do I need to know? This is my status. Like, is there something I need to be doing? Just making sure that you're proactive in advocating for yourself. Don't expect that people are going to do stuff for you just because you are maybe an international student and you expect that they will reach out to you. You take responsibility for your own future and go out there and ask the right questions. So leverage the international student departments. A lot of them have immigration consultants, immigration lawyers that work with them. So really talk to the people that have access to the information or are able to interpret some of these policies in a way that you might not just understand from reading the Government of Canada website, right? So go to those people that can interpret that policy and how it might impact you directly. I know for international students, there are also opportunities that are coming out, right? All of these changes might seem like a lot, but there are things that prompted them in the first place. Now we're going to see more good actors in terms of educational institutions in the past who were really trying to monetize and milk international education, right? Milk international students, taking more international students that they have the capacity to be able to support. So even in terms of the quality of supports and programming that are available in those institutions, all of these policies really also challenges and forces institutions to look inwards and internally within their systems to know the kinds of supports, because I know the government mentioned something, I think earlier this year or late last year, about a recognized institution framework, right? And that just means that institutions now have to demonstrate what supports that they have that is relevant to the international student population, and also the range of the support and how much of it exists. So like, even if you have an international student department or you have a wellness case manager, for example, is that one case manager to like 3,000 students? They don't have the capacity to be able to meet that population, right? So these are things that it's also challenging institutions to make sure that they are following ethical practices in supporting international students. Yes, it might be more expensive now. There's more red tape in the process, because now you have to get a provincial attestation letter for whatever institutions that's within the provinces that you're applying to. So there's just more layers to the process. It might get more expensive. In terms of the labor market as well, I know that a lot of provinces are advocating for more immigrants, for more foreign workers, because they need that to be able to support their local economy in their respective provinces. So I know at different levels of government or businesses, economy-wise, there's different factors that are being considered, but that might also mean that there might be certain sectors and industries that will be getting more attention. I know recently the government is trying to put more focus on also like things like agriculture. So we're even seeing a spike in students who want to study agricultural programs because of that, because that political climate is also changing the education sector, right? So just being more aware of the changes that are going on around you and asking the right questions, connecting with the people that can provide those answers to you makes a world of difference. So I think I've been able to answer.
Yeah, you've been able. That's educative. That's really, really educative, and I hope we'll learn from, this information. We'll try and turn them into something useful in order for us to find our stay in Canada interesting, meaningful, and rewarding. It's true that policies are changing, but there will always be a prompting factor that led to that. And once we stay within the scope of what is expected of us, I don't think we should be frustrated. But then quickly, Adesa, could you just do justice to this? Then we'll wrap it up just probably in 1 second. Are there any mental health organizations that assist international students with academic challenges? Or should I let me come back to you? Let me ask the students directly. Are there any mental health organizations that assist international students with academic challenges that you are aware of?
No, but like in school, they're like health and wellness. They do general, and we have the academic advisors as well that you can meet them like, oh, if you have problem with academics.
And that's sufficient enough to take care of the
I mean,
mental.
I wouldn't say it's sufficient because you might need like immediate help and you might be put on a wait list. So, but I heard of clinic. I don't know if they do for academics, but that's just mental health.
Do you know anything about that?
I,
It's like not, because I can see that even in the trend of things now, most students, even the PR or the citizens that are students or like immigrant generally, they're going through some stuff, and I don't know how available is this resource to meet their mental wellness in terms of the um, trauma or challenges or unexplainable experiences that they may be going through. Now that so many things are changing, a lot of our students, particularly international students, are also going through. So, Adesua, do you think there is an information that students need to be aware of in these changing times for them that can take care of their mental awareness?
There are community organizations that offer mental health counseling, whether that's on a short-term basis. I know for non-profit organizations, they might not have the capacity to do long-term care in terms for mental health support, but they have short-term counseling available. And short-term counseling, again, varies depending on the organization and just the amount of funding that they have and the capacity of their team to be able to support people. So I think in terms of, yes, there are educational institutions offer wellness support. However, we don't have to like limit ourselves to that, right? Again, depending on the institution and how big they are and the student size and how many resource persons that they have for that, there might be longer wait times and depending on your urgency of your situation. So looking within the wider community, I know for Winnipeg, there's like Aurora, even other settlement agencies that have like a psychosocial supports available. counseling, mental health counseling. So there's different local organizations that offer that. Again, it's just making the time to do that research. And I know educational institutions as well have the ability to also, they have connections with community organizations that offer the same supports. So even if they don't have the capacity to support you at the time, you can also ask them directly, like within the community, is there anyone else or other organizations that they can make referrals to? Many times those relationships already exist. So it's just asking them to point you in the direction of those other organizations that might be able to provide more immediate support. But again, health generally can be expensive. So if you're an international student, yes, you have coverage. So really leveraging your coverage too, because sometimes national students think that they have to have gotten into an accident to be able to use their health benefits. But no, you already paid for it with your tuition, so you can still use it. So and it doesn't have to be on campus for it to be able to work. You can still leverage community supports, and your insurance can cover a lot of those expenses, right? So yeah, really just connecting with local communities. There's a lot of them that offer it. I don't think educational institutions have the capacity to support the entire population with it, but that's why we have NGOs, right? To be able to be that third government, but also like really professional, experienced organizations that offer that support.
Okay, so calling your awareness or your consciousness to this, what CIS is trying to come up in within, I think January, could it be an offering to help in that direction in a way? What do you have to say about that? The counseling program that CIS is trying to put up, do you think it can help in any? What would you like to tell the students or the immigrant youth out there about getting connected to it if it takes off eventually? What do you have to?
I think, yes, that is certainly a bridge in that gap. So again, for those who are looking for the supports, there will be counseling that CIS is planning to roll out in the new year in January. So hopefully students or not just students, but youth and families. So for those who are also experiencing any type of family conflict, many times we're seeing a lot of intergenerational conflict between parents and kids, and maybe there's just an odd dynamics coming from a different culture and coming here and trying to find themselves, everyone, both the parents and the youth, and sometimes there is that just clashing that happens and is impacting the family cohesion. So there's going to be support available for families to do group counseling, but also for youth who are interested in getting individualized support, and it will be virtual. So for anyone across Canada who's interested in it, it's something that they can leverage. They don't have to be based in Winnipeg to be eligible for the service.
Thank you so much. So that offering is coming up January, and I think we're wrapping it up around March, April. So we'll say much about that, as the so finally, this one question will go to the two of you, and then that's all. How do religious and ethnic organizations contribute to the integration of immigration youth into Canada society? And what specific impacts have they had on their experiences and identities? Tokpe first, then Ayomide, then Tommy, you also do justice to that question. And then you just all give us your wrap up, one statement advice as an organization and to the youth out there. How do religious and ethnic organizations contribute to the integration of immigrant youth into Canada society? And what specific impact have they had on their experiences and identities? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll talk based on my experience. Um, so when I came to Canada, I, kn- I knew of my identity, right? That was when I started praying and reading my Bible. So I would say that the church has really, groomed me, because the person that came here like in 2022 is not the same person here, like in the area of like spiritual life, in the area of counseling, and in the area of fellowship with, other believers like me. And I would say that knowing your church is is the best place to be in, when you have to, sorry, Sorry, church is the best place to be, where you can find people that are like-minded like you, people that, want, the same things that you want to grow spiritually. Yeah. That's what I'll
Okay.
say.
Ayomide, thank you.
Okay, so for me, good and not so good. Um, Not so good in the sense that times it's kind of difficult to open up to people in church. They kind of judge you, and that kind of puts people in the box, right? I still had someone call me like during the week and told me some things, and I'm like, go and meet your pastor and tell your pastor this. I'm like, no, I can't, and this is something that in my head I told him straight up, I'm sorry, like I can't handle this myself. Is either I introduce you to someone or you go to your, you know, to your church. So good and bad. At times, youth are afraid to open up to people in church because they tend to judge them without understanding how they feel. We are youth, and the way we are right now is I want you to listen to me. And at times we don't talk directly. It's like you just, how are you? You message me, I did not reply. Me saying, oh, like I've been going through a lot. That's me saying I've been going through a lot is me calling for help. And at times they don't understand that. Like they just kind of raise their voice. You did not reply my message, but I'm crying to you that I can't. Like I'm going through a lot. But in terms of like your identity, they help you because for you to even say you want to go to church in the first place, you know who you are, and that kind of just keep you grounded to like, okay, like I'm in a community, I'm following God, I don't want to disappoint people, I don't want to disappoint myself. It helps you build yourself to like where you want. And I feel like in churches, especially when you have people that they are professionals and you see them every day and they are immigrants like you, they came as a student, they inspire you to kind of do more and just focus on what you want to do.
Thank you for that objectivity. So, Tommy, over to you, please.
So, do you want me to answer that question
Yeah.
again, or what do you, question
Yeah,
you
I
want me
want
to
I
answer?
want your own inputs to that side of question.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of religious organizations, I think that's the one I have the most experience with, and I always go back to my fellowship. Like I said at the beginning, I attended an on-campus fellowship, and it was very supportive. But I will actually look at it more from the lateral relationships rather than top down, because I imagine what the person that just spoke now is talking about, like the top down leadership to members. But even I think for a lot of people, the support actually comes from the fellow, like your other members, not just your leaders. I mean, leaders are great, they can be helpful, but also just having peers who you're in the same, depending of if you're if you're in a fellowship, like for example, if you're in a campus fellowship, that means all the other people you're all in the same stage of life. And so it's like having people who are experiencing things that are similar to you, walking through life together. I think for me, that's probably the biggest value of religious and even ethnic organizations. I didn't really have a lot of experience with ethnic organizations, but I know my husband did. The Ghanaian community in Winnipeg at the time was very strong. Like they used to have a lot of events like they had, and it was, really great. So I think definitely it's the social aspect for sure, but also making sure that you're not just locked into just people who are just your race or people who are just your religion, but of you should go beyond those people and find other people. But I think they help a lot to have people who you walk through life at the same stage, and then you see each other grow up together, you share experiences, you advise each other, you support each other. I think it goes a long way in helping people to integrate for sure.
Thank you so much. I must say that we have a very I don't know rich session. Like it's like an upgrade, you know, from what we had last week, and I really appreciate that. I mean, it's like we're progressing, and we're touching different salient aspects of you know the existence as it relates to uh, immigrant youth, families in Canada. So I really want to appreciate you. So in wrapping up, I want to say for Adesua, what would be your word for cis and even the target audience as we progress in our administration or programs to be able to be a real resource center for our target audience?
Um, I'd say there's a lot that is in development. So I'd say internally is just continue to build those structures and systems in place to so that when the opportunity does come, whether that's through funding, there is a higher level of preparedness to be able to um, implement those programs. So I would say it's just nurturing what we currently have, and growing that and just improving what's existing. I again, there's a lot of amazing program which is very relevant to the newcomer immigrant needs here. So it's just continuing to do what we're already doing, but also being vigilant and aware of the evolving climate within Canada, whether that's from an immigration lens, but also looking at the world of work and the labor markets and healthcare system, all of that, right? So just being more aware of what's going on, the trends that we're seeing within the community, and being proactive to provide that support. But I think what CIS already has is amazing. It's just strengthening and continuing to enhance the existing programs.
Thank you. So thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you. For Tommy, we're all looking forward to having a resource guide in this organization, and all of this, inputs would go into that. And would you like to just advise us or tell us or tell the world or tell the demographic we're working with what they should be looking forward to seeing, and what we as an organization should also intensify on in ensuring that we have a rich resource guide for our target audience? Thank
Yeah. I guess I will probably frame my answer in a different way. Because in terms of like just wrapping up and, saying what I think probably for me the most important thing is always hope. And so I hope that the organization can help immigrant youth or students to have hope that the future will be better than what it is currently. Because for me, that is something that probably got me through my student years, especially when I thought like, that am I not like it doesn't know my career path was not straightforward. I didn't know what I was gonna do. But that hope that somehow, some way, all of these things that we're doing, they're going to, come together somehow and the future is going to be great bright. And so I hope that maybe the resource guide will somehow, inspire hope in people when they see all of the things that are available, when they see all of, you know, because it might be a bit, I guess the part about the needs, it might be a bit like, oh, people have all of these needs, but also inspiring hope that there are all these people who have come together who are, trying to support youth, including youth. And so for me, I think that's just going to be my last word on, the organization should strive to give the target audience hope, and everybody should just hold on to hope that things can and will get better.
thank you so much. Ayomide, your word for your mates, friends out there, and for CIS as an organization. Just
Okay,
like,
so as students, young immigrants, we should take our mental health serious. Let's seek help in terms of immigration. Like Adesoa said, read, be aware, have a clear pathway. Even like before you finish school, have a clear pathway. If you're finding it difficult, read online. If you can't read online, please, there are so many people that are willing to help, even if they will charge you, just for you to figure what out, like what you are doing and how to like transition from student to being a permanent resident. So and for sis, I just hope we are able to reach as many youths that need help, and give them the life they desire.
Thank you. For Tokwe, the word?
Um, I would say for immigrants that would be coming, I would say be open to resources, be open to help, um, be open to being a better you, looking for opportunities. I know we all came here primarily to study, but look for opportunities outside, or look for ways that you can be of use, even in this economy and all of that. And for sis, I just want to say that, people should keep up the good work. I love the idea of counseling because that's really important. As international students, we have expectations even from our parents back home. So having a place where we can come and, talk, we can come and, find resources for job as well. That's really good.
Thank you. So, bringing this to an end, I want to say thank you so much, everybody that is able to make this episode with us. And for our audience out there, I need to let you know that everybody that is talking to you today is actually talking out of experience. They are talking about what they've gone through, what they've been through. For us to have the like of Adesua, Adesua was a student here in the past and went through the stages of school, and now a renowned consultant in the land, ensuring that she's making her relevance known and establishing her essence. Anybody can do that. If she can do that, you can do that. And look at the worth of Tommy. Tommy came here as a student today. She's a doctor, PhD holder, and look at how young she's looking. She's married. She's doing well today, a citizen. She got married there. She got a good job, working in good establishment, and she's a pillar behind Covenant Information Empowerment Services, ever ready to help us to ensure that she's just passionate about youth and she's giving it all. She's in Alberta. She was in Winnipeg before. Now in Alberta, she was part of us before she got married. She's married with additional responsibilities. She's still committed to you out there. So just know that you are blessed with people, with resources, and with an organization that is just passionate about ensuring that your pathway to life is smooth, and make the best of it. For Ayola, she was once a student. Now, she's working, she's about to get married. But my dream, she's doing well, very supportive to the organization. If they could be students and they are now workers, having good hope, good home, good future, you can. And that is what they are offering you. Look at Tokpe, 2 years now, right?
Yeah. Second.
Very effective, very determined, very focused, passionate about her life, conscious about her identity. You can do it. Everyone can actually get the dream actualized. Don't be discouraged. It may not be working now, but it's going to work. And that is what CIS is trying to ensure that we do. For Sioluwani Law, we want to thank you. That's our IT person behind the scene. Also a student in the University of Manitoba. All of them selflessly sacrificing to ensure that we have a world of immigrant youth that is very dynamic, relevant, productive, and resourceful, and could make a great change in our generation. You don't have to go the route of unpredictables or the route of misplacement of identity before you get it right. So, 2 more episodes to go on our survey and the outcome that we look forward to in our resource guide. But then the big news is that the media session continues. We'll be rolling out series of, programs that will be of great benefit to the youth out there, immigrant families, and everybody that cares to know what we do. Insist. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you, Adesua. Thank you, Ayomide. And thank you, Temitope. Tioluwani, thank you. Thank you for being here today. Have a lovely day. We appreciate